Before we get started, I want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July weekend. Be safe with your fireworks, and if you're a military or first responder, we appreciate everything you do for us. So, on with the vid. Welcome back to our little substandard channel. It's rainy outside as it has been, so we've got a lot of work to do to a lot of cars, and one of the things we need to do is get the transmission squared away for the Pro Stock car. So what we are going to do is that very thing. We're going to take our cluster support off. We need to take our 3/4 keys, billet keys out, and we'll also use the input shaft since it's still, there's no problem with it, and to put in our new, to us, V6 transmission. We'll just swap these parts over into that transmission. So we have also made a decision that we were going to shim the pressure plate to take some of the hit out of it, because we think that's what's breaking the transmissions, especially since we've broken third gear twice. We've never broken a third gear before, and this car doesn't make exceptional, like crazy power, and we were fine until we put the clutch in. So while that was what we were originally going to do, since Krusty has emerged as being back on the block and getting football back together, we have decided that we're going to take the flywheel and the clutch from the Pro Stocker and put them in Krusty. Technically speaking, Krusty's going to be faster than Pro Stocker, probably always will be, or we think he will be, and this will kind of kill two birds with one stone. Krusty's got a little bit better transmissions, got a Z SPEC. We're still going to shim the pressure plate, and but while we've got Pro Stocker apart, we have a Cobra flywheel, which, if you're not aware, the Cobras had a slightly lighter flywheel than a stock 5-liter flywheel, which stock 5 liters, 20.5, 21, depends on the scale, but they're 20 to 21 pounds. Cobra flywheels like 17, mid 17 or something. So it's, you know, right at 3 pounds is the general rule that people go by. So it is technically a little lighter. And we're going to put the stock clutch that was in the car, which worked fine, back in it and just see where we're at. Now, that might be a little bit of a step backwards for Pro Stocker, but he's given up a few parts in the moment to help Krusty be a better version of himself. And honestly, Krusty is higher up on the food chain, in my opinion, or for me, because I just like it better, than the Pro Stock car. So people may be like, oh, you're taking stuff from Pro Stock. Yeah, I mean, technically we are, but it makes sense to me, and that's just what I want to do. So that's what we're going to do, and it's already there to do. So enough talking. Let me start getting these parts out of here. We'll see you guys in the next clip. That's what a good time looks like. Holy mackerel. It got something and wound it all up in there. Ouch. Dang it, man. I think I had a tetanus shot. Man, what a mess. Whew. That's gonna take the press to try and get this off. But anyway, we got the keys out like we wanted, but man, it made a mess right there. Shaft's still okay, decent. There's still plenty of carnage in there. We got our cluster support off, stuff, so now we can just put this one in the parts pile, The good news is we'll have a bunch of transmissions that we can order clusters and third gears for, and or other stuff, and we'll be ready to go. So anyway, like I say, put this in the parts pile, call it good. We have got our fresh V6 Junkyard Jewel up here. So obviously we're going to take it apart. So same old song and dance. Make sure it's in neutral. Knock the roll pin out. Knock the roll pin out. If the tail shaft broke loose, get the whole deal out, top cover off, see what we got going on inside. And since I've grown fond of the time lapse, so you guys can see what I mean, it's super fast, so you can't really see what I'm doing, but still, you can see what I'm doing. No one has probably been in this transmission, no surprise there. Still got the rubber pluggy deal in there. So whenever you're putting it back together, you don't have to put that on. It's a non-factor. All right. You also want to make sure that when you're changing inputs, that you double check your tooth count, make sure it matches your cluster or matches the input that you're taking out. Oh man. Honestly, at times, when I think about all the work that I have to do to this car, Krusty, the failed TD, the Love Boat, Silver Car, even Trojan. Whew. It gets, you know, it gets a little overwhelming, I guess. But I also tell myself that I'm not on schedule. It gets done when it gets done. Sometimes when I look back, I'm like, man, I got a lot done. I mean, I've done a lot to all these different cars. From where they started to where they're at, it's a lot. At least for me. I know there's guys that work on their stuff like 24/7. That's all they do, I guess. Maybe they don't have jobs. I don't know. I mean, they're always working. I'm too old for that. Maybe when I was younger, back in my 20s or 30s. Now, don't quite have the same, I guess, drive. Especially right now. Side note, if you want to call it that. A couple weeks ago, on one of our fake book forums, for the record, I'm not a fan of Facebook at all. It's not, whatever. There was a rumor about the track, ECD, and that there was, this was from Ozzy Moya, the guy that actually owns the track. Some guys that watch his channel may be familiar with his name. He owns other tracks. Long story short, supposedly there was something going on, and then someone broke into the track, stole all the timing equipment, stole the effing water heater, stole the security cameras, just stole everything. Now, I don't condone thieves technically anyway, but when you're doing stuff like that to a place like that, I definitely don't get with that. That's, I mean, so then supposedly the deal was off or something, I don't know, but there was a post put up the other day that there is a buyer, that the track, all the stuff has been ordered to replace everything, the timing system, everything has been ordered to be replaced, and that there is a closing date at the end of August. So take that for what it's worth. That is straight from Ozzy. That's not a rumor. That's not my brother's cousin knows a guy that knows a guy. This was posted by Ozzy Moya that the track is under contract and has a late August closing date. So that's honestly great news for us, or for our group mostly. So that's the big thing. It's more of a group thing. So, all right, let's take a peek, see what we got going on here. Everything looks good, but let's look at it. All right, everything's looking pretty good. Don't mind, that's just a rollers from when I took the input in and out. So everything else, everything looks pretty good. So I don't see anything that's overly concerning. I mean, so let me take the 5th gear fork off and let's get some work done. Sorry, I know this video is long and I'm talking, but you know what, you guys have the ability to fast forward, so there you go. But people ask about the track, so there's some information on the track. Sorry, thought I had it time lapsed. I didn't, probably to your benefit. We took the 5th gear out and we just took the input off. That's all we did. Now, our main shaft. Pull the bearings out of there. Shoot it down with some brake clean after we get the get this dude off. Get you guys on the laps. All right, we use this, man, that's just about perfect. I like when that happens. So we'll put a little thread locker on there and tighten those down, and we can brake clean the inside a little bit, and then we can do our billets and be ready to start putting it back together. And at that point, we still got to take the bell housing, blah, 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 all that nonsense. And we should have it running here for long, I think, if the weather will cooperate. Alright, we've got our cluster support on, we've got our 5th gear back on, we've got our billet keys in. All we got to do now is get our input set in and set our preload. Well, yeah, set our preload a little bit. You can't really set our tail shaft on. We'll just get our input in, and then we got to put top cover on, tail shaft on, and set it all up. So there we go. Anyway, that is what we've got going on. I would call that some solid work, I guess. This right here, this is trans gel. Some of you guys that haven't watched the channel, this is not like bearing grease or anything. This is made for transmissions. It'll basically like dissolve, but it's really good for holding stuff like the bearings and stuff on. A little bit of this on there, and it just all kind of sits in there. Makes life a little easier. So anyway, let me put these in, set the input in. We got the timing cover. We've got the top cover on, and that's going to wrap it up for today. We will put the tail shaft on tomorrow and set the in play, and we'll be ready to go. At least transmission's back together, or a transmission is together to put in the car. So, all right, we'll see you guys in the next clip. It's dinner time. We are back in another clip here. We went to lunch today with Kev Dog and Timmy Two Toes, and we're going to finish putting this back together real quick. So now we need to clean the tail shaft up, and we'll be ready to bolt it on. A little RTV on here, and make the world a better place. So anyway. I know, right? I'm less talking, more working. All right, so let me clean the tail shaft up. We'll be right back here and time lapse it. We've got our tail shaft mildly cleaned up. Now, don't forget, boys and girls, that it's got this tang on overdrive. See that? That has to fit in this slot. So you need to make sure that's lined up when you put this on, or you'll give yourself a headache. Also, every now and then, the shift rail has to be finagled with a thin screwdriver just to get it to wiggle in there. I like to put a little bit of lube on this O-ring, and don't forget these top bolts that go through here are wet. In other words, they're exposed to fluid in the case, so you need to put some RTV on the top too. So let's put a little RTV on this and time lapse it as we go on. I like to put some lube on the shaft too to kind of help things out a little bit, and also put together this deal and put it in, and when we slide it together, it'll all be money. So I've just showed that in other videos, but whatever. So let's time lapse this deal. What are you guys doing? I hear you in the shop. You guys are getting nuts. Well, that time lapse was much longer than intended. I had to take it off a couple of different times. The problem was I didn't have the tab on 5th located exactly where it needed to be. So once I got that, I wanted to double check the other tail shaft, because you never know with T5s, there's all kinds of little weird differences. Make sure we weren't having a problem here, because this is a tail shaft that was on the other transmission, and it already had the cross member mount and everything, so whatever. But we got it on. Now we just got to put the rest of the bolts in it and put the dowel in the shifter, and we'll be good to go. So that kind of lined out. And we'll be on our merry way. We're going to set our bearing retainer in just to get things going. For the record, you're looking at from the front, thin slot top, wide slot bottom. We're just going to put a couple of bolts in it until we get our tail shaft tightened down. And then we'll put a shifter on it and see what we've got. We'll go ahead, do a little time lapse deal. All right, kids, let's see what we got here. That actually feels about perfect. Reverse is a mug on this one. Now I will say the reverse teeth, there we go. The reverse teeth were a little, that was the only thing on this thing that didn't look great. So, anyway. All right. Also, at times people ask me what shifter I use in the cars. You're looking at it. So, old first generation Hurst, when they first came out, this was basically more or less what they had. So this is what I use. It's what I basically got in every car. I don't like them super stiff. I like them kind of loose feeling. But that's what I use. I typically use a stock length stick. I like using the Long Engineering or the G-Force pistol grip. It's a little thinner than the Hurst and it doesn't have the finger holes. So it's more comfortable. That's just what I prefer. So, all right, I think that's a winner. So, got the transmission. I got to put some RTV on this and tighten the bolts up on the bearing retainer, and then we'll be good to go. So I think that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for all the ways you guys support the channel. We've gotten a lot of great stuff from you guys, and we plan on using it. Thanks for watching, especially. And until next time, on the substandard leader in box body and I was thinking about something else, sorry, and Lincoln videos. We'll see you guys in the next vid.